Hello, my wonderful subscribers. I have hit 1,000 and it is amazing. And I want to thank you for subscribing and for listening to me ramble on as a crazy sewing lady, which we both know I am. And I'm going to tell you a story today about how I started my studio, which was kind of a crazy story that I tell anyone who will listen. I had moved to Morgantown in 2014 when my youngest child was starting high school. And up to that point, I had worked little part-time jobs, but nothing full-time for 23 years or something like that. And my husband's like, Steph, maybe it's time, because it was really hard. It's really hard to live off one income, and you and I both know this. So I said, okay, I'm going to look for a job. And I started looking for a job. I have my undergraduate degree in education, biology, and chemistry. So I'm like, hey, I'm marketable. I'm going to go look for a job at the school district. So I got to be a substitute teacher, which took me like way too long to get certified as that. But I'm a substitute teacher. I started subbing and I hated it. I hated it. And I don't know what I hated because I loved the students. I loved probably 25% of the students, but most of the students just ignore you. You're just there. And, you know, we all know what it's like to have a substitute teacher in our class in high school. It had been 25 years since I'd been in a school teaching. So I was old. People were ignoring me. I just didn't like it. Students didn't want to listen to what I had to say. I didn't have a lot to say because I was a sub and I was just supposed to babysit. Anyway, I hated it. And I said, Robert, I'm going to look for a different job. Looking. This is pre-COVID when there's not a lot of jobs out there, when it was hard to find a good well-paying job. And I had one job offer. After 3 interviews, he offered me the job for minimum wage at an accounting office. And I'm like, I'm 44 years old. I can't do that. I can't do that. So my pride got the best of me. I was sad. And Robert's like, Steph, you're so sad. I said, yeah. He says, what can I do to help you not be so sad? And I said, well, things that make me happy. I love to sew. I love to play tennis. And I don't have a lot of tennis gear because we don't have a lot of money. So I wanted to sew some tennis gear. So I started asking around to some shops to see if I could find a used serger, because you can't sew tennis gear with a straight stitch machine. So I found a lady who connected me with someone, Kim at Fabric on a Roll. Connected me with someone who was selling a serger. So Robert and I go to her house where we meet. We walked into her house and I looked around, and every part of this house had something sewing in every corner. There were like 3 big tables like this. There were probably 25 machines in this studio. I was just in awe. I was like this everywhere. So anyway, I said, you have a serger? She goes, yes. She showed me the serger and she said, do you need anything else? She said, because the whole studio is for sale. And when she said that, it was like lightning down my spine. It was a moment where some people call it a moment of clarity. I call it a moment of inspiration. I feel like God was telling me what I could do and what I could do to be successful. So I looked at my husband and he's like, what? And I'm like, I'll tell you later. I thought the whole room could feel it. It was so palpable to me. I thought everybody in the room could feel what I was feeling, but no. So we bought the serger, and I told Robert on the way home, I said, Robert, I just kept shaking my head. I didn't even want to say the words. He's like, what? And I said, I want to start my own sewing studio. And he was like quiet. He's like, well, you know, the reason you're looking for a job is because we don't have money. I don't know if we have money to start a new business. And I said, I know. There's a million reasons why I shouldn't do this, but I feel like it's what I should do. And we went and had dinner that night, and he says, Steph, if you think you can make it successful, I know you will, because I've been married to you for 32 years, and I know you could. So with my husband's endorsement and a little visa, I purchased everything in the studio, and I got it for pretty cheap because she says, I want this cleared out in a month because I'm going to rent out this house. So it was a lot of work to get everything out of the studio, to take stuff to the dump I didn't want, to take stuff to Goodwill that I didn't want, to sell stuff that I didn't want. It was a big deal. We started the studio in 2016, and it took me about 18 months to start earning more money than I borrowed to start it. Robert let me turn my basement into the studio, which was his man cave, and it was beautiful. But he let me turn this into my studio. And something interesting, when we bought the house, the basement was not finished. And we decided to finish the basement because we just got done being landlords, and we were really good at fixing stuff. So we finished the basement, and I said, Robert, I want an outlet every 4 feet. He says, that's ridiculous. I had no plans to start a studio at this point. He says, there's no reason to have an outlet every 4 feet. I said, look, I just lived in Pittsburgh where there was one outlet per room, and I'm not going to start hunting for outlets. I want my house to have outlets everywhere. So we put an outlet in every 4 feet. Another tender mercy from God. And another thing is, when we were finishing the house, the guy says, how many windows do you want in your basement? And I said, as many as I can. He says, well, the floor plan comes with 2. And I said, well, then put in 2. And then next time we came back to check on them building the house, I said, there's 3 windows. And he said, yeah, I had an extra one in my truck, so I just put one in. And I'm like, you're amazing. You're amazing. So now I have this beautiful natural light that I use to work on all of my projects. Another tender mercy. And now I have this amazing studio where I help people. I help people with the talents God has given me. And I consider myself one of the luckiest people on earth because I love what I do. When I wake up in the morning, I can't wait to get to work. And I know I'm a crazy person because there's not a lot of people who wake up in the morning and say, I can't wait to get to work. But anyway, thank you for listening to my story, and I am so grateful that you have subscribed. Thank you.